Okay, so for this topic, quadratic equations, it's not a new topic to all of you. You already kind of cover it in Sec 2. But in Sec 2, you only did the factorization method. Okay, so you only did the factorization method. So in Sec 3, we are going to add on a quadratic formula. Okay, we're going to add on the complete square method, and we're going to be adding on the graphical method. Okay, so for this video, right, I'm going to emphasize on the quadratic formula. So for this video, okay, the emphasis that I'm doing, right, will be on the quadratic formula, because the quadratic formula will lead you on to two big sections. So if you are very okay with your quadratic formula, in fact, right, you are going to, it will lead you to something called fractional equation, which we'll cover in the second teaching worksheet. And then it will also lead you to problem solving, which we'll cover in the third teaching worksheet. So problem solving is the one that will be a 10 marks question. So that is the importance of the quadratic formula. Okay, so if you run through this worksheet, okay, the first part, section A, is factorization. So you can take it as a warm-up. Okay, so that is just your Sec 2 work, just a review. So I'm going into the quadratic formula portion. So for the quadratic formula, it is specifically to solve equation that looks like this. So this is the quadratic format. So same idea as your Sec 2. In your Sec 2, right, we must have the equal to 0. Then that is considered solving. And then for quadratic, usually we'll like to arrange it very neatly, x squared, x, and then constant. So there is also a definition for A. So A is the guy standing beside x squared. So do not mix up the A and B. So A is the number besides x squared. B is the number beside x. So sometimes B can be negative. And C will just be the constant. So again, C can be negative as well. So the formula is very huge. So it will be a minus B plus minus B squared minus 4AC over 2A. So to execute this formula very accurately, your A, B, C must be correct first. You insert and just technically punch calculator. So I'm going to show you using two examples. Okay, basically it's two questions here, 3A and 3B. Okay, so if I want to solve a quadratic equation, okay, this is what I will do. Okay, I make sure that there is an equal to 0. And then usually I will do something like this. So when I do something like this, I'm trying to make sure that I got my A correct. A is the person beside x squared. B is the person beside x. C is the constant. C doesn't have any x. So that's how I got my ABC. So you can do this way of comparison to make sure that you don't have mistake in your ABC. And then you got to insert your ABC carefully. So one of the common mistake will be because the formula is a minus B. So you will encounter a negative. So negative B, and when B is negative, you will have a double negative. Okay, and then when you put inside the square roots, some of you might forgot to square the negative for the squaring. Bracket the negative for the squaring. So B squared minus 4AC. So essentially, I just plug everything in. Okay, so most of you, right, will press directly. So a lot of you will press directly and get your two answers. So there's nothing wrong with doing this. except that when you press directly, sometimes you subject yourself to some careless mistake that you are not aware of because you input in your calculator. So what I normally do will be, I will do step by step. I will input this in my calculator. So when I input this in my calculator gives me a 1. And then square root 1 essentially is a 1. So that's where I split into two answers. So I split into 5 plus 1 and 5 minus 1, okay, over 2. And that's how I gotten the two answers. So I have this habit of not pressing everything together. So it helps to minimize careless mistake. Okay, so let's check another example. So another question. So again, I'm going to do the comparison. So I'm going to do the comparison to ensure that I don't get the wrong ABC, especially when it comes with a negative sign. So if you miss out a negative sign in one of your ABC, essentially you will just have a lot of careless mistake. Okay, so get on with your ABC. Insert carefully in your calculator in the formula. It's a must that you show the formula. So especially when it's negative, please remember. Okay, I think this part I got a typo error. This one should be a -5. Okay, let me see whether I pressed wrongly. Okay, I didn't press wrongly. I typed wrongly. So this part here should be a -5. Please make the correction. Okay. Okay, so I input the portion here. I input the portion to my calculator. It gave me a 41. So from here, I obtain my two answers. This answer came from this over 2. This answer came from this over 2. Okay, so you minimize the careless of input into your calculator, okay, by doing one extra step. Okay, so you will need to make sure you have no mistake, no careless in the quadratic formula. Because like what I mentioned in the first part, it actually leads you on to the fractional equation and the part on the problem solving. Okay, so try out this quadratic formula on the next few practice questions.